How to prevent your plumbing pipes from freezing. You've seen it before, you've heard about it before. It's getting cold, temperatures freeze, people have freeze breaks in their house, it floods their house and they're out of their house 3 to 9 months, even a year. What can you do to keep that from happening? We're gonna talk about it in this video and we're gonna talk about it right now. Now remember, we teamed up with the people at Ferguson, and Ferguson has sponsored this video, so thank you so much. We love what they're doing for the plumbers, for the trades, and for the communities. Again, Ferguson, thank you for everything you do for all of us. So how to prevent your pipes from freezing? Are there things that you can do as a homeowner to make sure this doesn't happen? Of course there are. And I know this because as a plumber, when I go back to fix a lot of these freeze breaks, I've got questions like, hey, did you do this? Did you do that? Most of the time, the homeowners tell me no. If you'll pay attention here, or if you're a plumber, think about this as it gets cold and you're out talking to customers. Do you tell them, hey, look, you know, freezing weather's coming. These are things you may want to do. These are things you may want to think about. Number one, disconnect your water hose. And I know that sounds crazy, but here in the South, it doesn't freeze that hard or nearly that often. But if you've got a frost proof sticking out the side of a house and it's got a water hose hooked up to it where it can't drain down, that water stays right there in the frost proof. Here's what happens then. It freezes, it breaks on the inside because there's nowhere for that water to go. And then what happens? Nothing. Frost proof isn't running. There's no flood. Nothing happens until next summer. Because next summer or spring, they literally hook up a hose or keep the one that's there, turn on the water, run it out to the car to wash it, and they've got a sprayer on the other end. Here's what happens. They spray to wash the car, they let go of the sprayer, and guess what? All that water starts filling up their wall. Meaning, I have literally had people send me videos of water coming out of the foundation for like 40 feet. They had been out washing the car, so it filled up the wall. They send me this video and they're like, what do I do? I said, well, don't go inside. They said, why not? I said, your heart probably can't take it. Here's the deal. All that water, it's either coming down the brick or it's flooding and going inside, damaging the sheetrock. Needless to say, they were out of their house for a while. Guys, at the beginning of winter, disconnect your hose. You're not gonna water, you're not gonna wash your car, you're not gonna do stuff like that. Keep it off all winter long and don't put it back on until next spring or summer whenever you're ready to do some outdoor watering. Number two, insulate your pipes. Now don't get me wrong, insulating your pipes is not going to solve your problem. It may delay the problem, meaning I have pipes in my attic, but I have them very well insulated. As long as I know they're insulated and I know it's getting cold for a little while, I'm normally okay because the freeze, the temperature is not gonna get through the insulation to the pipes quick enough to start the freeze process. So insulating pipes, whenever you build or whenever you install additional lines, can be huge. If you've had a freeze break before, make sure that you insulate those pipes before everything goes back in. Before you replace the wall, before you do all that, make sure the pipes that are still close enough to a wall to freeze, make sure they're insulated to at least delay the process. But remember, it doesn't always solve the problem, just sometimes it may buy you a little more time. But hopefully, that's enough for you. And talking about pipe insulation, as a plumber, do you actually carry insulation with you? Now, guys, literally all we got to do is get online and order it at ferguson.com and it's here the next day. So my question is, do you keep insulation for 1/2 inch, 3/4, maybe even 1 inch copper or any other pipe? Do you keep insulation on your truck so when you go out and do a repair on an exterior wall, you've got the insulation to help make sure they don't have this problem again? Number three, let your faucets drip. Now, I know this sounds funny, but if you've got a kitchen on an exterior wall, say it's on the north side of the house, number one, why would a builder put it on the north side of the house? But you know what, hey, it happens. Say you've got that and you know it's getting down below freezing. You know the pipes probably aren't insulated very well. Turn it on and let it drip. Now, I tell people, turn it on hot and cold and let it drip real slowly. It doesn't have to drip fast, it doesn't have to run, but it has to drip enough just to keep that water moving. And believe it or not, that will help. Now, the other thing, say it is a kitchen sink on a north wall or any other wall, but say it is a kitchen sink or a lavatory, something like that. Open up the cabinets, take out the towels. That way, whatever temperature you have it inside the house will also fill up that space under the cabinet. because if it'll fill up that space, say it's 70 degrees here and 0 degrees out here, it's going to take it. Say it's 70 degrees out here and 30 degrees out here, it's going to take it longer to freeze because you've got as much heat to this side, as much cold on this side, and hopefully your pipes are insulated, they're wrapped, you're dripping them, things like that. That may be enough to make a difference so you don't have any pipes freezing. The last one is heat tape. And I gotta tell you, I love this. Now, there's two different types. There's a heat tape that has a thermostat, so it's controlled, and there's a heat tape that literally you just plug it in. So say you've got an old water line, an old hose bib sticking up out of the ground out in the front yard. Now what you do, you bring this heat tape up, you wrap it around it, and when you know it's gonna freeze, you go out and you plug it in. Now this is great because if you have it coming up out of the ground and you can put a bucket over it or something like that, now all you do is run an extension cord out, plug it in when you know temperatures are going to get down really, really cold. These little things can actually save you a lot of time, a lot of money. I say a lot of time, you may be out of your house or moving everything out of your house because of freeze breaks, because the damage can be horrible. The worst year we ever had here in the Dallas area, literally we were charging, I think it was $200 or $300 to drive up to people's house, turn the water off. That's it, just turn the water off. The reason being, plumbing phones were ringing off the hook. Anybody needed a plumber to come out and just turn the water off. It was expensive. Plumbers didn't feel like they were gouging anybody. It's like, look, we're getting 1,000 calls a day. We're taking the ones that they can, and they are literally running as fast as they can, running in, turning the water off and saying, look, we'll get back to you when we can. Nowadays, yeah, there's different things you could do for maybe a spot or an emergency repair. And nowadays it may be a way to do it. But back then, that's what we were doing. So if you've ever had a freeze break, or you know somebody has and they've been out of the house for a while, or maybe you've got a different idea, do me a favor and leave a comment down below and let me know, what do you think? Am I giving people enough information here, or should there be more done? Now, one last thing. What do you do if you have a freeze break? And this is a big one. Make sure you know how to turn the water off to your house. Now, if it's up north and this happens a lot, your water valve is probably down in the basement. Down here in Texas, the water valves are out at the meter box, or there may be a valve box right by the house. Whichever way it is, if you've got the possibility of frozen lines and the possibility of having a flood, make sure that you and everybody in your family knows how to turn the water off in case you can't do it. Number 5. Now, if you have old yard hydrants that actually stick up out of the yard, remember I talked earlier about the bucket? This could be a good time if you know temperatures are freezing. Something you may want to do is go out and wrap these with insulation or towels or anything like that. You want anything you can do to slow down that process. So take maybe some foam insulation, put it around your pipe, take some towels and maybe wrap around it to thicken it up, because you're trying to create more of an R factor. And then if the bucket's not too tall, put a 5-gallon bucket over it, because that's going to help slow down the thermal process. It's going to help keep it from freezing as fast as it normally would. Now, I talked about if it will fit under a 5-gallon bucket. If it doesn't, maybe it's a couple of inches taller, you can do a couple of things here. Number 1, take one bucket, cut the bottom out of it. Now stack 2 buckets and put it over it. That's actually going to slow down the thermal process of freezing, because now it's got to go through twice as much plastic, but getting it in there, getting it protected, getting it covered up, those are the kind of things that you want to do. Once again, thank you to the people at Ferguson. Go over to Ferguson.com and look for the heat tape over there. It's actually there, and that's a great product to have on your truck as a plumber or a homeowner to make sure that you've got everything you need to take care in case you have a problem. So do me a favor, let me know down below, what do you think? Is there something that people should know that I didn't mention? I'm Roger Wakefield, Lead AP, the expert plumber. I'll see you in the next video if you don't get flushed.